have a side that cannot change, because then that means an admission that their beliefs have been corrupt all the time. So in a way, you have to force them to surrender.
Or we could make love, not war.
I tried that once.
Or we have an election.
I had to go to a doctor.
Election, yeah.
No, elections don't work. We know that. We know they don't work.
I need more black people to understand that when white people or the Republican Party talk about civil war, they're really talking about a social war. What they're really talking about is a genocide of black people. They're talking about an extermination of you. You have to be clear about what they are speaking of. We have become comfortable in America because it has been about 50 or 60 years since we have suffered a massacre as a people. But what we have to understand is that that somewhat tranquility is about to end. Europeans are salivating for violence. Their insecurities.
We had a war over slavery. We knew slavery was inhumane and immoral, but somehow we couldn't solve slavery peacefully. It was an evil, but one side refused to acknowledge that it was evil because it was too big of an admission for them to make. Doesn't that feel that way now, that this defiant refusal to reverse this decline argues against the survival of a country? What does that leave you with? It leaves you with, you need to make war to bring peace, because you have a side that cannot change, because then that means an admission that their beliefs have been corrupt all the time. So in a way, you have to force them to surrender.
Or we could make love, not war.
I tried that once.
Or we have an election.
I had to go to a doctor.
Election, yeah.
No, elections don't work. We know that. We know they don't work.
They do work.
Look what we have. Look what we have.
But
You had a modern.
Elections don't work because white people numbers are dwindling. This is the reason why they believe elections no longer work, because it was never about a democracy or about each individual having a vote and a say-so in the governance of this country. It was about white supremacy. And now that they feel that they're losing numbers in white supremacy, you see tactics such as banning abortion, hoping that they could produce more white people, because white is having a fraternity. White people are having a fraternity issue, right? And they are dying at greater numbers than they are being born. Because of those reasons, Europeans feel like democracy no longer works, because Europeans or white people have always felt like America was for white people, and white people have always understood that they have benefited from having control of United States government. They understand that they have white privilege, and they're willing to destroy American democracy in order to maintain white privilege. So black people have to prepare, because civil war is coming. And when they talk about civil war, they're talking about mass murdering of black people.
We had a moderate president, and we have crime exploding everywhere. We had a Democrat president promise that he was going to be moderate, promise that he was going to unite the country, and now we have a terrible education system, we have no border, we have crime everywhere. Every facet of society is in peril and in chaos because our elections don't matter.
No, elections do matter. We don't need to go to war for it. We go to the election booth and vote the people out who don't do the things you say.
Okay.
He's not for voting the people out. He's not for voting people out. He don't believe you're capable of doing that when your numbers are dwindling. You have to understand, Republicans have not won the popular vote in a while for president. So you have to understand, when you have dwindling numbers, population-wise, and you understand that you have gotten your power due to force and violence due to the fact that you've had numbers, that you had the majority, you understand that you're not able or capable of competing with black people on an equal playing field. So you must maintain a white supremacist government at all means. Don't think because they're dwindling in numbers that they intend to allow you to gain power through elections. No, that is not the goal. The objective now is to create an apartheid-style government. This is what white people are creating, but black people are not paying attention. When they talk about civil war, they're talking about a race war. And comes to trying to compete with black Americans is at an all-time high. White people see their birth numbers dwindling in large numbers, see that they no longer are the majority population, and understand that they lack the physical, intellectual, or social abilities to actually compete with black people. White people are clear about the fact that their advantage comes from white privilege, and their white privilege come from their violence. Them having a majority number and using that majority of numbers to violently oppress the black community. This is why white people are adherently opposed to January 6th being held accountable for their actions. Black people, we must awaken and prepare for the coming civil war, for the coming social war.